there's this Salem power station, if you remember.
Power station, man. Yeah. You
Yeah,
kids don't know about power station.
no
Yeah,
about power station.
I was roughly about 8 years old.
Yeah,
I
I think
wasn't
so.
here.
This
For
was
context,
97.
Derek. For the context, Derek, Power Station was a record store that Salem Cigarettes used to sponsor. So this one cigarettes could,
Salem
was important.
Cigarettes used to sponsor a record store.
Yeah. That's where you get your fix of music, man.
Where was it? Where was the record store based?
All over. There were
Oh,
branches,
there was
right?
Oh,
franchises. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So
So
Mark,
the
you also playing in a band, is it?
yeah. After that, when I joined them, I think I decided to have a band because I think it's a lot more easier to talk to the guys or to work with the bands if you yourself actually become a musicians,
Absolutely.
because we can have the same mindset or
You can talk the
way
same
of thinking.
language.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And musicians are we don't trust people because especially in the alternative scene we've been screwed over that many times by promoters and people like that. There, you just don't unless it's someone within your own group, you just don't trust them. Especially
Yeah.
if an outsider comes in going, "Oh, I'm running the gig. Do you want to come and play?" And you're like, look at them going like, "I don't know you. What? Where's this gig? What are we getting paid? What's going on?" So,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
so
man.
it's way easier that they have been in bands, you played along with the bands, going, and then you go, "Oh, I've started a gig now. Do you want to come play? Or I've got a record label. Do you want to come and do some songs? And we're going to release something." And then they're going, "Yeah, excellent."
Yeah, everybody's a record label now.
Yeah, everybody's their own record
Yeah,
label.
no, different world now, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so that like yesterday, Aziz was talking to me. It was right. He's writing a piece, so he's trying to say, when do you first meet Mark? So it's very hazy days for me then. But I remember the rehearsal space in QPEX.
Oh
I
yeah.
think that was damn rock and roll. I think there where I must have met you, bumped you. But that was there was a period post you guys went to China. That was
Yeah.
quite a turning point, right?
I think that was during the Monkey Record era, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Was this
Yeah.
pre
Yeah.
the formation of Soundscape or after the formation of Soundscape? So Soundscape started in 2001.
Yeah, I think after because Hong Kong dissolved in 2000, late 2000, after we came
Okay.
back from the Beijing tour.
Okay, so
Yeah.
at what
Yeah.
stage, how did Soundscape come together? Obviously, your idea, your partner's idea. What was the origin of it? Why did you like? Where was the point where you went, right? I need to start my own record label. Fuck this! I'm fed up messing about, not going anywhere with trying to.
I think you have to. Yeah, I think you have to go chronological, right? Like leading up to, because that was a period I found out later, only like 2001. I was like, oh, that's what happened. And then I got the documentary from you, right?
Yeah.
And that was like, yeah. So how did you lead up to that? Lead up to Beijing?
No, we always wanted to have like a tour elsewhere because we know for a fact that it's so difficult to make it here, right? And then so that's why, and then at the time also we were really into the Beijing underground scene. There were a lot of bands that are really like like for example like the Fly, No, and also this band called Tang. I mean they are it's really avant-garde, something that's different from the bands artists like Cui Jian or even Tang Dynasty. Yeah, I mean can you imagine they stay in this farmers village, like without much resources, Yeah.
That's
I mean,
hardcore, man.
yeah.
I don't know if the rest of the guys like you
Yeah.
guys seen the documentary or not, but it's this village of just bands, right? That was mind blowing, man.
I mean, they're from everywhere, other provinces, they have no money. They just want to come to Beijing, and then because Beijing is sort of like the base, the base, and then they want to go there and then just to try out their luck, whether they can make it, as an artist or even like play in a band. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like London back home. Everybody just everybody in every country in Europe eventually just want to go to London. Because London's kind of like the source. They try to get fucking signed or play music. Loads of musicians go, I'm moving to London. Why? Because do nothing here. I get signed in London, but then you become like one of 10,000 bands in London rather than being one of 20 bands in Ireland or where we're from. Like where we always told them it's better to be a big fish in a smaller pond, especially when in music, because eventually there's going to be record labels who want to just come to the smaller pond to see what else is there. But if you're a small fish in a big pond like London, you just see a million bands all the time. So they do. So
So Beijing calling then. So
Beijing
Beijing
was it
calling.
what was that trip? What was when did the idea? I mean, like, was that sort of a zeitgeist moment, that tour, and
No,
how it
it's
played out?
even I mean the purpose of that tour is to sort of like it's more like a cultural exchange. We want to see what's actually happening in Beijing because we have heard a lot of good thing about the scene there. So we just want to go there and experience.
So
But
which
then even before the tour, there was sort of like some kind of like differences already happening in the collective because some guys want to adopt the more like DIY style. They want to sort of um, like the Fugazi kind of
they
ideology,
want
you
to
know.
they want to
Okay.
say pure punk rock for punk
Yeah,
rock.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like yeah,
But then to us,
Ideals.
yeah, we were just starting out. I mean, the core leaders of our think that we should never compromise on the production quality.
no, I agree. But
We're very very
that's a
like
that's a
particular about the recording quality.
but
I'm not
that's a
saying that using like this DIY or lo-fi stuff recording it's no good. But then at that time, at that point of moment, we sort of like want to raise the standard because
oh,
we were going against the Chinese
I
mainstream
I agree,
music.
but there's an idea about punk rock, and then there's what punk rock actually was. What punk
Yeah,
rock actually was is the reason those records sound so shitty is because they couldn't afford anything better. If they could
Yeah.
afford
It's
it,
not purposely shitty. Yeah.
yeah, if they could afford
You're
it
trying the
better,
best with what you have.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
You know.
the sex, never mind
yeah,
the bollocks sounds. It's an amazing sound album because they had a budget to create an amazing sound album.
Yeah.
The other bands like Fugazi and all, they couldn't afford to pay Albini, and Albini didn't know what he was doing back in fucking '89 anyway. Like so, like those albums sound shitty because they didn't have a budget, and Albini was a new producer. They didn't really have the quality to fucking create something amazing, even though they created something amazing by default. Then there's later on in life, the punk scene later on, where they've got the idea that to be punk rock means everything has to sound like shit, which is stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Punk rock's an ethos. It doesn't mean everything has to sound like fucking shit. You know, the shitty
Yep.
guitar
Yep.
and a shitty
Yep.
production and a shitty. Everything has to be shit. And you did it right. Production has to be good. Sound quality has to be good. Everybody has to sound professional. You can't just fucking fuck about and like
Yeah.
because you're
And you also trying to also kind of open up the minds for the Chinese audience, right? Because you got to have that production level to entice them, right? And that's very important, right? So
yeah,
what that was a point of contention, was it? Of
yeah, very much. Yeah, because I mean, we kind of quite. I mean, we kind of spend quite a hefty sum on the recording, but in the end, I mean, obviously the sales is not doing well. So that also lead to like further like internal problem, like disagreement among the members. Yeah, because the idea is to reduce the budget so that we can record like more bands. I mean, more bands can record their music. If you reduce the budget, but then that also means that you need to sacrifice a bit on the recording quality. So the two different types of like thinking. Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. So that thing actually been brought to the Beijing tour, and also I think because the two bands like Chongyang and Motion, they were like that was the first overseas trip, so they didn't know what to expect at all. But because at the time, I think they also went at the wrong time because um, early 2000, if you go to Beijing underground scene, they were heavily influenced by bands like Rage Against the Machine, Korn, Limp Bizkit.
it
So
was
the
kind of
first
like
gig that
new
we
metal,
played,
new metal scene.
they were like 10 bands, I think 10 or 11 bands on the bill. I think
Yeah.
9 of them were like freaking like corn or raise chicken machine. So there's no way you can compete with them. And then, because Motion kind of like live up to that. But then for Chongyang, it's so difficult because their kind of music is just like more like post-punk and art rock kind of music. So obviously, I mean, they have problem like convince the audience. There were not much of a reaction or
Oh,
response from the
I would
audience.
have took that as a challenge. My old band back in Ireland, we were called Gwen
Yeah.
Stacy, and we were sort of like that. We were kind of like, we were sort of like Glassjaw-ish, but we were always lumped in and playing along with all the Northern Ireland metal scene. So it was all the we were one band who were sort of like Glassjaw sounding, and every other band was just metal, fucking metal to the bone, like.
Same lah. My noise rock band Maharaja. We used to play grindcore gigs.
Yeah, so we always took it as a challenge. Like these guys are going to hate us. This is a pure metal crowd. Like, so we took it as a challenge. Let's win them over. Let's always win them over. So we always went up and just went mental on stage. And we generally do hell. We would win the crowd over just by fucking putting on a performance so insane that like they had to appreciate it. So like, I know the situation your band was in, like, but so like. But
Oh man, but it's different, dude. This is like going to a different country.
Doesn't
You
matter.
gotta see,
Doesn't
you gotta
matter.
see, you gotta see the no, you gotta see the documentary, man. It's
I
it's
love
like,
to watch
oh man.
I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
like crazy.
sorry I didn't watch the documentary prior to this because I should have watched.
Where
the
can we
documentary.
watch it though?
Yeah,
It's
where can-
online. I share you the links, guys.
Oh,
but anyway, but it's true. I mean, like,
Sorry, Mac.
it's-
There's no research ever done for this podcast. That's the main thing about this podcast. We never do any research.
No, but I thought it was like, man, when I first saw that, this was already when that Huang Ho wasn't there, right? It just blew my mind. I mean, like, it was a big step. No underground legend band had done that. It was
That's what it takes.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
somebody to have
man.
an idea. Well, I've got an idea.
just
let's
that,
do it.
and let's do it.
So who was
So it was simmering already, lah. That difference within
Yeah.
the camps.
who were the first bands to release music on Soundscape? Do you have it?
Actually, our first release was a compilation.
So it's sort of like Sub Pop and labels like that. The first release is a compilation of local bands, like the Big Six
Yeah.
in Seattle and stuff like that.
Because I want to introduce the
Yeah, it's
second
always a good idea. Like if you're starting off stuff and you've got a list of bands that you want to
Yeah.
get out there,
Mm.
let's just do a comp album. Like Sub Pop did the same thing. Deep Six stuff like that. There was all like
Mm.
just the Seattle scene. Like so, yeah, I completely understand.
So
that.
this was around the same time as Monkeys, 2001, 2002, or
I think they came up first with the album. After
okay.
Hong Kong dissolved, I think they went on with the Monkey Record, and then they put out
Okay.
that
compilation. My band was on that. Yeah.
yeah. So after that,
Karma was on that, wasn't it? No.
I don't remember Karma. I think only Lang Mang.
Lang Mang only. Okay.
Yeah.
So then Soundscape punya compilation came out after lah. Okay.
It's just a few months, I guess. Yeah, because I think they came out early 2001.
One.
And I
Yeah.
put out the compilation like July or August. So it was in the same year. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because
So-
20 years ago, man.
Is it called?
Yeah, man. 20 years ago, dude. 2001. fuck.
Is it called Soundscape #1 or what did you call it?
Yeah. Because I have to make a very quick decision. When the guys came back from Beijing, we were at our clubhouse. We used to have a clubhouse in Cheras, where we put share our like books, CDs, and
Yeah.
that's our meeting point. I mean, for the like-minded. So we always have our meeting there. So the guys came back. Everyone was like so like demotivated. I mean, I just joined them actually. I was on fire, man. I was still on fire. So I told them I want to carry on. It was like almost like immediate decision. I said I want to carry on
Okay.
by myself. So I decided to name it after it was actually a music column that I have in the Sinchu Daily.
What was it called? What's it? So Soundscape was the music column.
Yeah, it's actually a title of my music column.
Okay, cool.
So I never think twice. Like I actually regretted later on with the name.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
Why?
I didn't like the name, to be
The
honest.
name's fine. There's no
I
wrong
don't
with
know.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What would have you? What in hindsight? What was the cooler name you had thought? It's like when you name a band, right?
No. So the problem is when you start thinking about a
Cannot
cooler
already.
name.
Don't think.
When you start thinking about a
Yeah.
cooler name, it's going to sound shit. Like just name it what you think, and then you make the name become cool. You don't try to think of the cool name. Like
Yes.
Sub
Yes.
Sub Pop is a terrible name. Like, but like it became a fucking cool sounding fucking name. Like, so
Because Daryl Go,
yeah.
actually he came to us like even during the Wang Ho days lah. Give us like some write-ups and reviews. And after the label dissolved, and then he actually asked me why you name it Soundscape. I see like dubs, in his. So from there I know the name sucks. Sort of like.
Fuck.
Actually, later on people did compare Soundscape with Wang Ho. Yeah, I mean, because this label is like less avant-garde or less what do you call it, progressive compared to Wang Ho.
So was that?
But that's the whole intention because Wang Ho was always at the forefront. He was like the big brother, leading all the other bands, But then I want to take the back seat. So I want to push the bands in front because I think we have said all we want to say during the Wang Ho era. So I think it's about time we let the bands to be in the under the limelight. So that's the whole intention. Yeah.
So were all the bands on the label or came through the label? Was the majority? I'm just going to use a general term here. Was it all sort of kind of post rock? Because the one word I always associate with you and the bands that you brought through have always been sort of post rock sounding bands, like so like.
That was later stage of our Soundscape. Yeah.
Okay.
After I started touring like international bands.
All right.
Yeah. At the beginning, it's all like Chinese band, like different genres. Yeah.
Just different genres. Yeah. So the
There's
post rock thing became later on.
In our roster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first full album by a band was it
Rush,
right? Rush. By the way, it's Rush RU.C.SH. Sorry.
Because Rush is my surname.
Like your name, without an E.
quite apt.
So that's why.
So.
I mean,
so how they get there? Yeah.
Experience. They were very experienced because they are from Cameron Highlands.
Okay, Cameron Highlands.
You probably know them because one of the guitarists actually Chong, owner of a Soundmaker studio in Penang.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But back then they were so young and inexperienced. But I like their attitude because they're willing to push the boundaries. They know what are their shortcomings, and then they are sort of like when they give me the demo. To be honest, I don't really like the songs that I have. But then during the recording process, they sort of like chuck away the old songs, and then they came out with new numbers. I mean,
during the recording process.
During the recording, I think they wrote a few songs.
That took some balls. Like we're just going to scrap all this and just starting. That takes balls. That takes knowing what you want.
I saw that was actually a very important sort of like a transition period for them. So that's why I decided to work with them. Yeah, I think those days is more about, of course, music is important, but then we always want to emphasize on the, the way of thinking, the mindset, the attitude, the spirit. I think, yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
Okay, so I think here we'll take our first break, and then the second half of the show we'll go into the when you start bringing international bands over, and then of course Life Act and the birth of Life Act. So we'll take a 10-minute break now, and then we'll go into those things in the second.
Actually, I'm good. If you want to carry on, I'm good with that. Yeah.
Well, it's going to stop in a minute, and maybe we Zoom, unfortunately. Okay. So we'll a 10-minute break. Are you okay with that? And then we'll just go back in it then. Okay. Cheers, Mac.